How's everyone, Grant here? Welcome back to another camera comparison video. Today I have the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G up against the Pixel 4a 5G. Now both these smartphones are delivering a lot of value at their retail price of $499 here in the US. And of course you can find them through some other deals which make them even less expensive and deliver even more value. But we do know that the Pixel 4a 5G has the same cameras as the Pixel 5, so we know it delivers really good photos and videos. I've done a bunch of camera comparisons with it. But can the Galaxy A52 5G do the same? Let's go ahead and take a look at a lot of photos and videos. I'm going to show you them in both good and low light conditions to help you decide which of these two camera systems might be best for you. So go ahead and take a look at all the samples and leave a comment at the end and let me know which one you thought did better, which one do you prefer. So let's go ahead and take a look. Hey everyone, I'm in my usual testing spot here in the park, trying out the video on the Galaxy A52 5G and Pixel 4a 5G. Starting out with the ultra wide angle cameras on each. I'm just panning around to give you a feel for what that looks like here on each of these ultra wide angle cameras. Differences in color, differences in field of view. And again, what's nice on these phones, you can switch between the lenses while recording. Moving into the main lens on the A52 5G and on the Pixel 4a 5G right there. I'll pan around a little bit so you can see the differences here in these main wide lenses. Both seem to be doing a pretty good job on the shadows in those trees. And let's go ahead and pan over to the right and we'll test zoom here on that cell tower. So we'll go to the 2x telephoto on the A52 5G, 2x digital there on the Pixel 4a 5G. And let's see us go all the way in to a max 10x digital on the A52. A little bit shaky, a little bit grainy. 5x max zoom on the Pixel, but very stable. And I'll back it up to about 5x zoom here on the A52 to see what that looks like compared to the 5x on the Pixel. So Pixel looks clearer, at least in the viewfinder, much more pixelated and grainy on the A52. So let's move out to 1x here on each phone and test out autofocus here on the post. First with the A52. Focused up, refocus away. And let's see, focused up. So focus is a little bit slow, but there you go. And one more time. All right, and let's try with the Pixel 4a 5G. Focuses up really quickly here, immediately. So autofocus seems to be a little bit better here on the Pixel. And let's go ahead and try stabilization as I walk down the stairs. And I would expect both of these to be doing pretty well as far as stabilization here in 1080p. But I'll pull up here and pan up into the sky and into that bright sun to see how the cameras handle exposure and everything. Hey everyone, so we're back with the same test, this time at 4K, 30 frames per second. Again, starting out with the ultra wide angle lens on each. And again, I'll pan around so you can see what that looks like here on each of these ultra wide angle cameras. The Galaxy A52 has a slightly wider field of view, as you can see. And we can go ahead and switch into the main lens on each. So A52, Pixel 4a 5G. I'll pan around a bit so you can see what the difference is on this lens a bit here. And we can go ahead and pan over here to the right and we'll test zoom again on the post. So 2x there on the A52, 2x here on the Pixel. And we'll move into, let's go to 5x on the A52. And we'll go to the max 5x zoom on the Pixel. So that's how they compare there. Both looking pretty stable. The Pixel's looking a little bit less grainy though. And I'll go into full 10x digital zoom on the A52. And also not too bad, but definitely a bit grainy. And we'll move back out to 1x on each. And let's test autofocus here on the post with the A52 first. There you go, focused up and away. Takes a little bit, but you can see it focus in. There you go. And now with the Pixel. Pixel focuses immediately. So a little bit faster here on the Pixel again. And we'll go ahead and test stabilization as we walk down the stairs. There's no stabilization here in 4K on the A52 5G, so that's going to be pretty obvious here as I walk down the stairs. And we'll go ahead and pull up here at the end. And again, pan up into the sky and see how these cameras handle that changing light. Everyone, so we're testing out the super steady mode stabilization on the A52 against the active stabilization on the Pixel 4a 5G. So I'm just walking with the phones in front of me, and these both should be doing really good here, but let's go ahead and run a little bit to stress them out and see how the stabilization holds up on each. So that's just a quick test of those stabilization modes on each phone. Hi everyone, so here's some video from the front-facing cameras on the Galaxy A52 5G and the Pixel 4a 5G. I'm outdoors obviously in some afternoon sunlight, but it's not too harsh and it's coming off my left. And so the picture quality, at least in the viewfinder on both, looking pretty good, although I'm noticing on the Pixel it's making my skin tone look a little bit reddish, and that's been going on for the last few camera comparisons, so I'm not really sure what's up with that. But let's go ahead and pan around so you can see how these cameras handle and what the image quality looks like into some of the changing light here. So as I pan this way, the sun is directly in front of me, and you can see what that looks like as far as the sky and how the exposure is looking there, looking pretty good actually. And as we pan around, it's gonna get more difficult because obviously the sun's gonna be directly behind me. Cameras are gonna be working hard to properly expose me, and you can see what that does to the sky there, which is pretty typical. And we'll go ahead and pan around one more time and test stabilization here. So this is just a feel for what the video quality on the front-facing cameras look like here outdoors in 1080p, which again is the max resolution on the Pixel. Hey everyone, so here's a low light video test between the Galaxy A52 5G and the Pixel 4a 5G, starting out with the ultra wide angle lens on each. Give you a feel for what it looks like here on each of these phones in this situation. And already you can see that the A52 is flaring out that bright light a little bit more than the Pixel. But again, what's nice is that you can switch between the lenses while recording. So let's go into the main lens here on the A52 and the main lens on the Pixel. And I'll pan around here so you can see what that looks like here on each of these main lenses. And we'll pan back this way and go up into that really bright street light again. And both of them are flaring it out, and that's gonna be pretty normal. It's a really intense light. And actually it's not looking as bad on the A52 here in this main lens than it did in the ultra wide. So let's go ahead and pan over here this way, and we'll start testing out the stabilization on each of these phones here in 1080p. And this is my usual low light test, so if you're familiar with my camera tests, you know I like to test different lighting situations. So that was pretty much as good as it's going to get if you're going to film in low light. And we'll start walking to a much darker area here around the corner and see how each of these phones handle that light transition. And at least in the viewfinder, the Pixel is looking brighter at the expense of more noise in the A52 5G, but we'll see once we offload these onto the computer. And we'll stop here and we'll pan up into the pretty dark night sky there. And again, the Pixel's much brighter and much noisier, at least what I'm seeing here directly. And we'll pan over here to the left where there's a little bit more light, so you can see what that starts to look like here in that kind of a situation down this alley. And so there's a quick test in full HD 1080p 30 frames per second there. Alright, so we're back again with the same test, this time at 4K 30 frames per second, but again starting out with the ultra wide angle lens on each phone here, so you can see what that looks like in 4K. And again, the A52 5G is definitely flaring out that bright light in the ultra wide angle lens that much more than the Pixel 4a is. But again, the A52 5G definitely has a wider field of view. You can fit much more in the frame there. But I'll go ahead and move into the main lens on each. Let's go to the main lens on the A52 and the main lens on the Pixel. And I'll pan around so you can see what that looks like here on this camera. And again, we'll move over into the really bright street light and see how that handles it. Pretty much about the same. Maybe the A52 is flaring that out a little bit more than the Pixel. But let's go ahead and pan over this way and we'll test stabilization again in 4K. And again, we'll walk from that pretty well lit area to a much darker area, and the 4K footage should be looking darker than the 1080p footage. That's pretty normal, but do let me know what you're seeing and what you think. And again, the Pixel seems to be brightening up the scene a little bit more than the A52, but again at the expense of a little bit more noise there. And so let's walk over here and we'll pull up again right here. And we'll pan up again into the dark night sky. Maybe a couple of stars are out here. We don't get too many of those. Again, brighter on the Pixel. And we'll move over here to where there's a little more light down this dark alley to give you a feel for what that looks like here in 4K. Everyone, so here's some low light video on the front facing cameras on the Galaxy A52 5G and the Pixel 4a 5G. Again, we're starting out in some pretty ideal light conditions. This is at 1080p 30 frames per second. That is the max resolution and frame rate on the Pixel. The A52 5G can record up to 4K 30 frames per second, but I want to keep this apples to apples at the same resolution here. And again, like I said, it's a pretty ideal lighting situation. Lots of lights around me, as you can see here. You can see how these front facing cameras handle those bright lights as they pan around. And we'll go ahead and start walking to test stabilization. And again, we'll test how they handle this light. So we'll go from this really bright light over to a much darker area here to see how these cameras look in different lighting situations here. And as I walk over here, we'll have a water fountain to my right. So we'll also see how the mics handle that noise compared to the sound of my voice. As you can see here, it's much darker, but we'll go ahead and pan around this way so you can see what each of these cameras look like into those really bright streetlights behind me and how they handle that. Of course, they're flooding them out a bit more than other front-facing cameras, but that's going to happen. Those are really bright lights. And we'll pan around this way and we'll end the video here in this lighting situation here to compare them directly against each other. So hope you enjoyed all the photos and videos. Do let me know what you think about each of these phones. Which one did you like for photos or videos? Which one did you like in general? Leave me a comment down below and let's continue our conversation down there. And as always, thanks for watching.